Today, it's movie recap time for Where the Crawdads Sing, a mystery drama movie released in 2022. The story starts in 1969, in the marshlands of North Carolina. As two kids ride their bikes, they discover a dead body near a tall structure by the marsh. They get scared and contact Sheriff Jackson and his colleague, who determine that the body belongs to Chase Andrews, the town's best quarterback. The officers are surprised that there are no footprints from Chase or anyone else around. They go up the structure and think that Chase may have fallen through a broken grate. Shortly after, the autopsy confirms that Chase died from a 63-foot fall. However, for the back of his head to have hit the beam, as the autopsy suggests, he would have had to fall backwards, which suggests a possible murder. Additionally, the absence of fingerprints on the tower railing or grates and the presence of red fibers on Chase's jacket support the possibility that someone ended his life. Later, at a diner, the officers hear some locals accusing a girl who lives in the marsh of finishing Chase. Apparently, the town people don't know her name. After they overhear their baseless accusations, the police decide to visit Marsh Girl's home. As the cops get there, they go inside her place, even though they don't have a warrant. The men discover a red beanie, which could be the source of the red fibers found on Chase's jacket. Finally, the movie introduces Marsh Girl, whose real name is Catherine Clark but who prefers going by Kaya. She hides in the forest to avoid being arrested. After a few days, the police finally find her while she's boating through marshy waters. Kaya attempts to swim away from the men, but she gets caught. The townspeople seem to be sure she's involved in the murder, so they spread negative rumors about her all over town. However, Tom Milton, a retired attorney, visits Kaya in her jail cell to help prove her innocence. He tells her that when she goes to trial, her fate will rest in the hands of a jury that probably only knows her as Marsh Girl. To make sure Kaya is found innocent, Tom needs to know her true story in detail. After trying to talk to her, a scared Kaya remains silent, but just before Tom leaves, she finally starts sharing what happened to her. The movie takes us back to 1953, when Kaya had a family and lived a happy life. The girl has 5 siblings, and Jody is the closest one to her. Once, while Kaya and her sisters played on their dad's boat, a local boy named Tate came by. Kaya's dad shows how violent he is and hits his daughter. When Tate tries to help Kaya, he's warned not to come back ever again. Eventually, Kaya's mother can't handle her husband's cruelty anymore and leaves, never to come back. Even though Kaya yells her name and tries to stop her, her mom ignores her. As time passes, her siblings also leave one by one, making Kaya feel even lonelier. Finally, even Jody, who has always cared for Kaya, gives up on living with their dad. Seeing Jody leave breaks her heart. As he departs, Jody tells Kaya to hide deep in the marsh whenever needed, way out where the crawdads sing. After being left alone with her dad, Kaya learns from their mistakes and begins avoiding him as much as she can. One day, Kaya gets lost in the marsh by herself and ends up meeting Tate again, the fisherman's son. Something about the boy seems to ease the tightness in her chest. Some time later, Kaya gets hungry and asks her father for more food. The man then takes her to a store in town, but they can only afford to buy grits for their meals. Mabel and Jumpin', who own the store, understand the situation and grow fond of the girl. Mabel even encourages Kaya to go to school by giving her some clothes and secretly giving her a lollipop. Wearing the clothes she got, Kaya eventually decides to go to school and heads into town. She meets Tom, who points out where the school is. However, on Kaya's first day at school, most of her classmates make fun of her because of her messy appearance. This upsets her and makes her never go back to school again. To make matters worse, after the family gets a letter from Kaya's mother, her dad reads the unexpected letter to himself and burns it to ashes. Desperately missing her mother, Kaya cries her eyes out. The man informs Kaya that her mom won't come back. Later that night, her dad also burns her mom's belongings, and Kaya can't do anything about it. Eventually, the last person in her life also bails on her. Her dad leaves without saying a word to Kaya. So, the girl has to start providing for herself at an incredibly young age. Kaya then goes to the swamp and gets mussels to trade at Mabel's store. They strike a deal, and Jumpin' agrees to give her food and other basic supplies in exchange for a few pounds of fresh mussels every week. In the present, Mabel sends Kaya clothes for her trial. As it begins, the judge informs everyone that if she's found guilty, Kaya will be sentenced to the death penalty. Soon after, Chase's lawyer makes his case and says that Kaya led Chase Andrews to the tower, pushing him to his death. At the same time, Tom calms Kaya down and informs the courtroom that there is absolutely no proof supporting the lawyer's claims about Kaya's involvement. He proceeds to say that Miss Clark is in such a situation because it's easier to judge her based on where she comes from than to rely on facts. Soon after, it is revealed that Tom suggested Kaya agree to a plea deal. The deal means that if she admits to being at the tower that night, involved in a discussion that led to the accident, she could be out of prison in 6 years. However, Kaya refuses to say anything that would make her look guilty. The movie then goes to 1962, when Kaya has grown older. She often sees a man in the woods but never interacts with him. One day, he leaves her a feather, some seeds, and a letter that she cannot read. The two eventually meet, and the man reveals himself as Tate, her childhood friend. After Kaya mentions that she couldn't read his letter, the boy ends up suggesting that he teach her how to read and write. They start with the basics and eventually move on to more complex subjects. Kaya learns quickly and develops a passion for writing. Her drawing skills, which were already good, get even better. She soon becomes an expert in feathers, birds, and local animals. Over time, they become closer and soon engage in a romantic relationship. Despite Kaya's desire to get physical with him, Tate says no, worried about how it might affect her reputation in town. Not long after, people from social services start looking for Kaya to find her a safe place to stay. In reality, a wealthy business wants her out of there so they can drain the swamp and build something. All in all, Kaya's life seems great until Tate reveals that he wants to go to college. Kaya struggles with the news and with her feelings. It turns out Tate wants to be more than just a fisherman. The day of his departure finally comes, and Kaya says goodbye to him with a heavy heart. Before going, the man gives her a list of publishers she can send her drawings and notes to, so she can make more money. Tate promises he won't forget her and says he'll be back in a month, on the 4th of July, to watch the fireworks with her. He goes off to college, and Kaya is alone again. About a month later, the 4th of July arrives, and Kaya can't wait to see him. She wears the dress Mabel gave her and waits at the beach all day. Sadly, Tate doesn't show up, and Kaya feels terribly hurt and upset. She watches the fireworks by herself and ends up spending the night there. She burns the things that remind her of Tate and finds comfort in the marsh again. Back in the present, the sheriff investigating the crime scene believes Chase's death was a murder, pointing to the absence of fingerprints and tracks as evidence. Tom argues that the tracks might have been erased by the high tide. He also brings a revealing document, a letter the sheriff himself wrote to the U.S. Forest Service, asking them to fix the broken tower grates just a year earlier. The request warned that ignoring it could result in serious injury or death.
Thank you, Sheriff.
In the meantime, Kaya recalls the day in 1968 when she first met Chase and his family. Before they get to talk, Kaya leaves and heads home. As she gets there, she witnesses another developer taking photos of her home. At Mabel's store, the woman reveals that developers are buying land to build hotels and urges Kaya to do whatever it takes to keep her property. To find out if she truly owns it, Kaya goes to a land registry office and encounters Chase along the way. After agreeing to a date, Kaya finds out that her grandfather indeed bought the area. However, she must pay $800 in taxes to keep it. Kaya then finally decides to submit her work to the publishers Tate mentioned, hoping for some additional income. Later, she joins Chase for a beach date, but things take a negative turn as Kaya senses he just wants to use her. Realizing he was rushing things, Chase apologizes and takes Kaya to the fire tower to make amends. As the months go by, the duo spends more time together. Kaya isn't completely sure of her feelings for him, but her loneliness has ceased, which seems to be enough for her. Back in 1969, the attention in the court shifts to the red wool found on Chase's denim jacket the night he passed. Since the threads from Kaya's beanie and the ones in the jacket match exactly, Chase's lawyer states she is directly involved in the man's death. Tom quickly argues that the threads could have been there for weeks or even months before his death. Back to Kaya's past, she gets a reply from a publisher saying her writing is amazing and that they want to edit and publish it right away. Soon after, Chase gets promoted and goes to Kaya to celebrate. He proposes to her and takes her to a hotel, where Kaya gets physical with a man for the first time. That night, Kaya gives him a gift, a unique shell necklace she made him. In court, Chase's mother claims the necklace wasn't on her son's body. She adds that Kaya is the only one who had the motive to take it after his death. Despite an extensive search of her home, the police didn't find the necklace. While Chase and Kaya are still together, Tate returns from college and sees them as a couple. As Tate overhears Chase making inappropriate comments about Kaya to his friends, he confronts Chase. Jumpin' stops them before it turns into a fight. Tate turns out to be wearing the same hat whose fibers were found on Chase's jacket. Later that night, Tate visits Kaya, who who is completely furious about his unexplained absence and lack of communication. Tate apologizes for leaving, explaining that he thought Kaya wouldn't want to leave the marsh and start a new life, so he never came back. However, he eventually realized that he couldn't be without her. Now that he works at a nearby lab, he asks if Kaya could ever forgive him. Kaya says she's not sure. One day, as Kaya goes to town, she sees Chase and his friends. One of them introduces herself as his fiancée. Deeply hurt, Kaya goes home, crying her eyes out. It doesn't take long for Chase to get there, but Kaya hides in the bushes, determined not to let him see her. Shortly after, Kaya gets some good news. Her book got published, which provides enough money to pay taxes and claim her home once and for all. One day, her brother Jody unexpectedly appears at her home after seeing Kaya's book in a store. He has joined the military and talks about their mother's attempt to reconnect with her children. Unfortunately, leukemia took her life. Chase insists on reconnecting with Kaya. Yet, after being rejected multiple times by the marsh girl, he loses his temper. The guy attempts to force her to get physical with him. Kaya hits him with a rock and warns him not to bother her again, or she will end his life. This warning is overheard by a fisherman, who later testifies against her in court. After Chase's attack, Kaya begins to live in constant fear. She often spends nights hidden outdoors. One day, as Tate checks on Kaya, he gets enraged after seeing her bruised face. Although he wants to confront Chase, Kaya asks him to let it go. Tate urges her to attend a meeting with publishers in Greenville and gives her his red beanie. At this point, it is uncertain if Kaya kept it or not since she attempted to return it to Tate. The next week, Kaya takes the bus and leaves town for her meeting. The night that Kaya has dinner with her publishers is the same one that Chase dies. In court, the publisher testifies that he had another meeting with Kaya the next morning, and there was nothing unusual about her. Chase's lawyer finds they stayed in separate hotels, showing Kaya slept near a bus station. He argues that she took an overnight bus trip to the town and committed the crime. On the last day of the trial, Jody, Mabel, Jumpin, and Tate show up to support Kaya. Tom makes his final speech, saying they should judge her based on facts rather than relying on stories they have heard about the marsh girl. He notes that she would have had to take the night bus, find Chase in the middle of the night, lure him to the tower, end his life, eliminate all of the evidence, and then, after miraculously completing all of that in a few hours, catch the last bus back to Greenville to attend the meeting the next morning. While the jury gets to work, they anxiously wait outside. Eventually, they reach a final decision. Finally, the judge gets the verdict. The jury declares Kaya not guilty.
Not guilty.
With the case closed, Kaya and Tate finally repair their relationship and start a life as a couple, enjoying the marsh together. Over time, Kaya continues to write and often has visits from Jody's family. The couple continues to live in the marsh and grow old together. One day, while boating alone, Kaya sees her mother's spirit, who seems to guide her to the afterlife. Tate eventually finds Kaya's body in the boat and heavily weeps. In the following days, as he goes through her things, Tate finds a book featuring a drawing of Chase. Just below it, Kaya wrote, "There is no morality in nature, just life pulsing on, even at the expense of some of the players." As he turns the last page, Tate discovers the missing seashell necklace with bloodstains. The man realizes his wife ended her predator's life to save herself. The movie ends as Tate throws Chase's necklace into the water, hiding Kaya's secret forever. Thanks for watching. If you like our content, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe.